All right, so I'm gonna play it all the way through. Then I'm gonna break down what we're looking at. So check it out. All right, so I tried to steal the ball. I got crossed over. Nothing too alarming, right? But you know, if you've been looking at these videos, you know that there's something going on. So I'm gonna break it down to you. Now, check this out. So I come across to steal the ball, and look what happens. Now, I noticed that my timing was perfect. So I'm like, man, how did he not lose the ball? So I go to look at it in a replay, and what do you have? Check it out. Boom. You see that? You see that? You see what's going on, right? You see that, right? Unbelievable. Well, I wouldn't say unbelievable. It's 2K. The ball comes through the top of my knee, through my entire leg, and out the bottom of my foot. Right? Now, in 2K21, I noticed that, well, in 2K21, the last season I played before starting 2K22, I averaged over 10 steals. All right. And for the most of the time that I played the game, whatever games that I played, I would average around about 10 steals or more, because my ability to just time it is impeccable. And I'm noticing while playing 2K22, I have games where I could barely even get 3 steals. I've only got 1 steal this game. So I'm like, man, what the hell is going on, to a point where I can barely steal the ball anymore? Like, this is a guy that's averaged over 10 steals. I averaged a quadruple double in the last season I played 2K21. Coming into 2K22, I can barely ever steal the ball, regardless of how good my timing is, what badges I have, what my attribute is. I barely could ever steal it, and I'm noticing, like, okay, uh, there has to be something to it that's going on. And here's the thing: when you steal the ball, even when your timing is perfect, the algorithm will not grant you the steal, because whatever you do in this game pretty much is decided by the algorithm. All right, it's just a matter of how well you can narrow it down to it just being all about you. But the algorithm is predetermining what you're going to be allowed to do. So, if, for example, if you shoot a jump shot, I know you've had many instances where you will release it directly on the line, but you won't get the green release, especially in 2K's part of this one, is because the algorithm determines whether or not they're going to grant you with a perfect release. Your release was perfect, but the algorithm still has to put a stamp on it for you. All right, if you're going to block a shot, regardless of how good your timing is and how great of a blocker you have, the algorithm has to determine whether or not it's going to allow you to be granted with the shot block. All right, if your timing was perfect enough and you actually still blocked it, your hand and just go right through it if the algorithm is not putting the final stamp on it for you, right? And the same thing goes for fouls and steals and everything else that happens in this game. A certain degree of it is based upon you, but the algorithm is meeting you there and is determining whether or not you could actually have whatever it is that you work for, which is why you will have scenarios like this one right here where clearly, this should have been a turnover. All right, my timing was perfect. This should have been a turnover, but the game is not going to allow me to have it, right? It's not just going to give it to me just because my timing was perfect and just because I actually touched the ball. My hand and arm and limb and body, whatever the case may be, it just go right through me. It just go right through me like nothing ever happened. Because once again, what? The algorithm is determining whether or not I'm allowed whatever it is that I work for. All right, you cannot make a shot if the algorithm does not determine, okay, good, you can have that shot. You had your timing was good enough. You were wide. You were open enough. Everything planned out right. Okay, we'll grant you with the actual made shot. All right, that's why You could have a not so good release, but as long as it's in the yellow, sometimes you can make it because the algorithm is saying, okay, we'll let you have that, right? It's not just based upon how well you're playing. The game is deciding things for you in the computer. That's why you have a such thing as predetermined losses, predetermined outcomes, and scripted games. It's deciding for you what's going to happen. All right, and that's what sucks about this game. But anyway, peace.